What's up everybody, welcome back or to the channel. So today we're going to do an unboxing and quick overview of the new Bushwacker fender flares that I picked up for my 2023 F350 build that I'm currently working on. So let me show you the truck first so I can explain why I'm going with fender flares. Let's jump in and take a closer look. Now, I currently have a Stryker 8-inch lift kit on it with 24 by 12 wheels and 37 by 13.5-inch wide tires. Now, if you look at the profile, you can see that the tire sticks out past the fender probably a good couple inches. Now, running this wheel setup, I wasn't too worried about the fender flares because the tires don't stick out that much. But I decided I wanted to go bigger on the wheels, and I ended up ordering a new set of wheels, which I will be putting on this week. So if we come into my garage here, you will see that I have a new set of wheels right here. These are going to be the larger 26 by 14 Arkon wheels. And I do have tires being delivered today, which are going to be 38 by 15.5-inch wide tires. When I stick the new wheel setup on, the new wheels are going to stick out a lot further from the fender, which is why I decided to go with fender flares because they will cover the wheels about 2 inches. So my goal is when I put the new wheels on the truck, they're obviously going to stick out a lot further from the fender and probably draw a lot more attention from the cops. So by adding the fender flares are going to cover about 2 more inches of the wider wheels, so that once I get the new wheels on and the fender flares, the new wheels will have a very similar profile of these wheels, which will be a little less noticeable and hopefully keep the cops from pulling me over. So the fender flares I'm going with are the Bushwacker fender flares. I ordered them from the Ford website. There's the information right there. These are going to be disassembled and primed gray. So they're going to be ready for paint. So let me open this up and we'll be right back. Okay, so we got them out of the box and I got them all separated. Everything was shipped and packaged very well. So in this bag here, you're going to have all of your weather stripping and hardware. You have your 4 fender flares and you have a couple trim pieces. Now these are a smooth finish primed gray, so they are ready for paint. None of the hardware has been installed yet, so you can literally take these straight to the paint shop and paint them. Once you get them back, then we're going to have to go through the hardware and put all of our fake rivets in and get our weather stripping installed and put it all together and get them mounted. But if you look here on the back, they are labeled. This is a left rear. Come over here in the left rear, they should mount something like that. But if you see here, the tires are barely sticking out past the fender flare because these extended fender flares give you between 2 and 2.5 inches of additional coverage. So again, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the plastic off and I'm going to do a trowel fit on each fender. Then once I confirm that all the fender flares fit, I'm going to take them up to my buddy's shop and get them painted. When I get them back in a couple days, we're going to start putting all the hardware back in and get them mounted. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video for now, and we'll be right back when everything's painted and brought home. Okay, so we just got back from my buddy's shop and we picked up the fender flares. They are now all custom paint matched to match the truck. So this is the Ford Agate Black, so that it'll match my truck real nice. So I have 2 of the fender flares here. I have a couple of the trim pieces right here. And then I have the other 2 fender flares sitting up here. So what I'm probably going to do next is just add a quick little coating of ceramic coating to the fender flares just to protect them a little bit more so that once I put them on, we are heading into, again, winter season. I'm going to be having a lot of snow and mud and slush flinging up at them. So if I can ceramic coat them now, it'll help protect from a lot of that debris from sticking to the fender flares. So the next thing I have to do is just start getting all of the hardware out of here. I have all the bolts right here and the weather stripping here, and we're going to have to start putting them all in. So again, let me start working on that and we'll be back here shortly. Okay, so now that we have the fender flares back from the paint shop, we're ready to start installing the hardware and getting them prepped to be installed. So the first thing you want to do is get your bolts. Okay, this kit comes with black bolts. You're going to put a washer on it, one of these washers, onto the bolt, and then you're just going to slide it through from the front. So on the back, you're going to take a lock washer and you're going to screw it down. So basically that's all you're doing as far as the bolts go. So you're going to want to do all the bolts across the top. Just make sure you put a washer on the bolt, push it in from the front, add a lock nut on the back, and then you're going to want to tighten it down. Now the kit does come with a little star bit like this. I just tape it on to a handle so it's easier for me to grip. And then I have a little socket that will help tighten down the bolts. Again, these bolts are cosmetic only. They're not bolting down to your fender. So again, they're just cosmetic. So let me go ahead and add all the bolts in, and then we'll move on to the weather stripping. So what I like to do next is wipe the outer edge. Now again, the top where your bolts are, this top edge here is what you want to wipe. So I don't have any alcohol wipes, but I do have some spray alcohol on a rag. So I'm just going to spray some on there and then just wipe off the top edge of this flare just to get off any oil or debris or anything like that, because we need the weather stripping to actually stick to it. So now that we went ahead and we wiped off the outer top edge of our fender flare, now we have to start putting on our weather stripping, which is very easy. So the little part here that has the red peel back 3M tape, you're basically taping that to the under edge of the top. Let's see if I can get here and closer and show you. You see the red tape here? We're gonna peel that back, but it's basically gonna stick right like that. And then this piece of rubber gasket is gonna stick out the top just like that, okay? I don't know if I can get the light to work here, but basically that's all you're doing is you're just sticking it along the outer edge like this, and then it sticks the whole way. Okay, just like that. And then after you start sticking it on there, you're gonna wanna put some pressure on the back to get that 3M tape to really stick. But towards the top here, you're going to want to put some pressure and kind of like bend it a little bit, and then there's a little rubber lip that flips over the top of the fender. So you're just basically peeling a little bit, sticking it on, putting some pressure, just like that, and then you're gonna just keep working your way down. And it's best to do this on a warmer day. So if it's cold outside, you probably wanna do this inside your house, because again, you want the fender to be, you know, relatively room temperature, and you want the 3M tape to not be frozen either, because that'll stop the 3M tape from really sticking, having all that cold moisture. Now, any little divots like this that have like a little bit of an angle, you're gonna wanna be extra careful around there. Make sure you get that gasket to really fold over that angle. Press in with your fingers, really get it to fold in there. And that's it. Let me go ahead and cut this excess off. Let me go back through the weather stripping, just put a little bit of pressure on it to make sure that 3M tape really sticks real well. And then I got to do the same process to the other 3 fender flares, and then we'll be right back and I'll show you how to install them. So to get these installed, there's a couple things we got to go over. So depending on your specific year, make, and model of vehicle, your installation process might be slightly different. Now these little trim pieces that look like this, these are for the front fender flares only. What we want to do is take the little supplied clips and we're going to slide them over top of the actual flat hole here that's closer to the back edge, not the angled hole. There's only 3 of these holes here on the back flat edge. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you're going to take the 3 clips, slide them over top. I always like to put a little screwdriver in there just to open the clip up just a little bit. And then you're going to slide that clip over that hole. Okay, just like that. Then we're going to do that on the other 2 holes. Okay, one more. Again, using a little screwdriver just to go in there and open that little edge up helps slide them on. Okay, so we have our 3 clips. 1, 2, 3 installed on this trim piece. So right under here, there's gonna be a couple bolts along the outer edge. Depending on your make and model, you might have more bolts. I only have 4 on the front. So there's 1 here, come up here, there's 1 there, there's 1 there, and then there's 1 right there. So there's the 4 bolts. So basically what you're gonna do is take your trim piece, that's the painted side, then you're gonna basically take this trim piece and line it up with those holes. You're gonna take those bolts out right there first, and then you're gonna reuse them by using these holes here that don't have the clips, and you're gonna bolt this panel piece up into place like that. So once you go ahead and bolt this on the 4 holes that are on the angle here, not the clip sections, then your fender flare bolts on to the clip section, which I'll go over here in a minute. Now, real quick, before you get into installing the actual fender flare on the fender, what I always recommend is make sure your vehicle's washed. Then, if you can, if you have any ceramic wax or some type of coating product, like a ceramic coating or a ceramic wax, something, go ahead and apply that on your fender. Now, this is a 2023 Superduty, which all the panels are made of aluminum, so they're not going to rust out. So if you happen to have a different vehicle that has steel fenders, you're going to want to do something to protect your fender, because sometimes you get a little moisture and debris behind the fender flare, which could sometimes rot out your fender over a long period of time. But I always recommend, if you're using fender flares, take the fender flares off or once every couple months and really wash the fender and protect that paint. Now, I put a coat of ceramic coating on my fender just to protect the paint and give the paint a little extra layer of protection, because that rubber gasket will rub a little bit on the paint, and I think the ceramic coating will help. So again, that's just my little tip there. If you are using fender flares, before you install them, make sure you wash your paint, make sure you put some type of ceramic coating or a really good layer of wax on your fender before you put your fender flare on, and that will help protect your fender from future damage. Okay, so we went ahead and we got the trim piece installed across the top, just like that. And then these 3 clip areas here, there's 1, 2, 3 right there. That's the 3 holes that your fender flare clips into. Now, the bottom 2 holes, you're gonna wanna take that mud flap off, or this little plastic bracket here. I like to take the bracket off. You could probably leave it on, but because I got bigger tires, I want to make sure that my fender flare is further away from my tire. So I actually took the black plastic cap off, because then on the bottom of your fender flare, you're going to take these 2 bolts and bolt the bottom right into there. So on the front fender flares, you're going to have the 2 bolts down here, and then the 3 across the top that goes into your bracket system. So other than that, that's it. You're going to set your fender flare into place. You're going to bolt it down to the 3 metal clip areas, put the 2 bolts in the bottom, and you're going to be good to go. So let me go ahead and do that, and we're going to move on to the rear fender flare next. Okay, so the front fender flare here is installed. Again, you want to make sure when you're putting the bolts on, you're putting some pressure pushing in on the flare, because you have to push it nice and tight up against your fender to get the bolts to line up. But once you do, it creates a nice solid fit. Your rubber gasket across the top will compress up against the fender, giving you a nice weather seal across the top. As you can see there, there's no gaps. Everything looks good to go. So there's the fender flare there. Looks really, really good. Really happy with it. Now again, I have much larger wheels here, but again, with these fender flares, these are 15.5-inch wide tires. So as you can see here with the fender flare lining up, I only have about 2 to 2.5 inches sticking out the side, as opposed to roughly 5 inches sticking out the side on these much larger wheels. They give the truck a little bit more of an aggressive stance, and I'm really happy with that. So the front fender is now fully installed. It's nice and sturdy. It ain't going anywhere. It's nice and tight. We're good to go. So the next thing I have to do is start working on the back. Okay, so I'm holding the back fender up with my hand. So you're going to take your marker and you're just going to mark each hole. There's 4 of them with the marker on the fender itself. So you're just going to take your marker, mark the 4 holes on the lip of the fender. And then when you take the fender flare down, so now if you come down here, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, there's a little mark right there. You see that mark right there? You're going to then peel the back off of these little strips of tape, and you're going to line it up about right in the middle. You want the majority of this tape coming to the edge. The excess tape on the back, you're going to roll it over the back just like that. Pinch it down like that. Then you're going to take one of your clips that looks like this and slide that right on, just like that, to where the hole is hanging off just off the back. So you're going to do this procedure here putting your piece of tape over the black dot and then sliding your bracket on, just like this, on each one of the 4 dots that you put with your marker. So once you have that done, the fender flare pops right up and bolts right in to those little holes right there. So let me finish up putting those other brackets on, and we'll come back here in a minute and install it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the 4 clips mounted. There's one right there, one right there, one right there, and one right there. We still have to take out this bottom plug here because we're gonna have to plug in the bottom of the fender flare there. So let me go ahead and get the bolts, line the fender up, we'll bolt it down, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we are done. The fender flares are all installed on the 2023 F350. These are the Bushwacker pocket style fender flares, but as you can see here, they look really good. Definitely give the truck a little bit more of an aggressive stance. I really like how they turned out. Let's check out the other side over here. There you go there. Again, these are 26 by 14 wheels on a 38 by 15.5 inch tire, and it just makes them look real nice. Now again, the fender flares give you about 2 more inches of tire coverage. So if you are running wider wheels, such as 12 wides or 14 wides or something like that, having 2 more inches of coverage will really help keep some of that mud from flinging up all over the side of your truck. But for 2, it's not as noticeable when it comes to cops noticing tires that stick out way too wide. Okay, so here's what the back fender flare looks like here when it's installed. Again, everything looks real good. Again, all you're doing is bolting down the couple bolts across the bottom, and then you're gonna plug in that one plug down here on the back side. Once you do that, everything is nice and sturdy. Again, this thing is on there nice and tight and it's not going anywhere. And if you just look at the profile, as you can see here, you only have about 2.5 inches of your tire sticking out, and that's a 15.5 inch wide tire. So the fender flares do give you a little bit more coverage, covering up the tire so that it doesn't appear that so much is sticking out past the fender. And again, as I mentioned earlier, for those of you that are concerned about your fenders rotting, keep in mind, these fender flares are not bolting through your fender. So you're not drilling any holes that could potentially rust out later, but there is potential for water and debris to get behind the fender. And if you leave it there for too long, it could eventually rot out your fender. But on the Super Duties, being aluminum, that won't happen. But on other vehicles, it could. So what I recommend is before you install your fender flares, make sure you wash the vehicle thoroughly. Then make sure you apply a heavy coat of wax, or even better yet, apply something like this, which is a 12H ceramic coating, which is what I did on my fenders. It really helps protect the paint from a lot of abrasions. Now, is it foolproof? No, but this will definitely make a difference in protecting your paint from any moisture or debris that might be behind the fender flares. So it does add another level of protection. And then every couple months or so, take the fender flares off, wash everything again, wax it, maybe throw some ceramic coating on it, and then put your fenders back on. Or better yet, add some of that clear vinyl wrap product onto your fender around the edge behind the fender flare, and that will definitely help protect your fenders from any type of rot that might be caused by moisture or debris behind the fender flare. And if you're interested in this 12H ceramic coating product here, I'll put a link in the description. It's a really high quality ceramic coating product, and it comes in at a pretty good value. So I highly recommend this one here, and I'll put a link in the description if interested. So anytime you're going with aftermarket wider wheels, I always recommend adding fender flares because it just helps give you a little bit more coverage. And it really just gives your truck a nice aggressive look. So there you go, everybody. We went ahead and we installed a set of custom Bushwacker pocket style fender flares on my 2023 F350 build that I'm working on. But they really do give your truck an awesome aggressive look, which I really like. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this video helps some of you out. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.